Hi, everybody. Welcome to Jokes, Please. My name is Ross Dauk. I'm the host of this show. It is a stand-up comedy show that has sort of changed forms now that the world is how it is. How we do it is we have a couple guests this week, Ryan Gunther and Andy Canete. They do stand-up comedy out in the world, and then we do a chit-chat, sort of a late-night talk show, and it's very fun. So hopefully you stick around. Yeah, so we film the comedy out in the world, and that is challenging. There is a lot of noise out in this city, so we went to a new park with a shocking amount of helicopter takeoffs and landings in the evening. That was weird. Also, there was a dance party on the pier. The dance party only had 2 participants, which was very respectful of them, but still annoying to shoot comedy around. Also, the funny one for us was that Andy Canete, he was trying to do comedy, and there was just a humongous amount of crows that would not let him be. And I love crows, personally. They've been there during some tough times. I remember I had a loved one pass away, and I was just like watching the crows fly by, thinking about life and loss. And this old lady saw this moment, walked up to me, and said, "Did you know that a group of crows is called a murder?" You know, that's kind of a weird moment, and I just was like, I know what a murder looks like, old lady. And then she walked away, right? Love a good crow. Once saw a man fight with a crow, and I think the crow won handily. The man, sadly, was pretty hammered, old guy. He looked like a bag of flour that you know when you hug a bag of flour and some of it puffs off. That's what this man looked like. And then I walked by an alley, and the man was going like, "Come on, come on," but at the crow. He's like, "Come on." And then the crow was dive bombing this man. And the man was so hammered that he sort of wouldn't realize that the crow had dive bombed them. And then the crow would be behind him, and the man would like flip around and be like, "Come on." But then the crow had already dive bombed him back. It was really kind of a pathetic scene, right? Oh, also though, it was amazing because the crow he was grabbing the sticks off this like low garage he was on and throwing them at the man a little bit. It really is quite incredible. But, you know, people say crows are so intelligent. But in this case, don't you think if they're so smart that crow should have seen that this man had a substance abuse problem and just, you know, flew away? That's like one of the joys of being a crow. If you're in a fight with someone, you can just fly away. You should definitely be the bigger animal in that circumstance. Now that I think about it, I suppose human beings can also fly away from a fight. I've never done that, but that would be very fun. You get into a fight with someone and you just run in the other direction, run immediately into an airport, buy a ticket, fly away. See you later. I don't think I would ever do that. Now that I think about it, I did tell that crow story at an audition once. It was a circumstance where it was a beer commercial audition, I think, and it was in the callbacks. There's directors and producers there, and all these guys looked like they were in a band, and they all look hungover, and there's 10 of us in the callback, and you're herded in there, and it's an uncomfortable situation, and the director just goes, "Tell me your craziest story." And then there's 10 people, and they were all models-ish. And the first person goes, "One time we were at the club, and we got bottle service, and it was crazy." And then the next person said, "One time we were in the club, and Macaulay Culkin was there, and he got bottle service, and it was crazy." And they all had various stories of bars and clubs and bottle service. And then I was the 10th person, and I did not have a story like that. So instead I told that crow story. And through all of the stories, the director guy, he was hungover, he didn't look at anyone. And then at the end of that crow story, he just looked up at me, and I was like, "Huh." And I was like, okay, it's better than nothing. Oh yeah, so that was, I think, am I confusing stories? I'm not sure, but in that same one, I think they're looking for people who are also good at soccer. So some of these model people were horrible at soccer, and some were good, and they asked everyone, "How good are you at soccer between 1 and 10? And there are some 10s and there are some 2s, and some people are clearly lying. And I was the 10th person for this question as well, but for some reason, when it came to me, the director, instead of asking, "How good are you at soccer?" they said, "On a team, how good of a teammate would you be for soccer between 1 and 10? How good of a teammate you are and how good you are at soccer is a much different question. Like, I'm not great at soccer, but as a teammate, oh, I'm incredible. I'm extremely supportive. I know when to be critical with good positive feedback, and then also where you just gotta fluff someone, be, oh yeah, you're doing great. It doesn't matter. You know, I'm good at that. I'm an extremely good hustler. I also don't mind carrying bags. I'd be a great teammate. So I confidently said, 10 out of 10. That, with the crow story, booked that commercial, no problem. I think it's because of the crow story, I hope. Is this still about crows? I guess it is. My favorite crow in Vancouver, aside from my neighbor crows, who I like a lot, but aside from that, I really like Canuck the crow. If you're unfamiliar, this is the crow that became quite famous because there's a crime once in Vancouver where there was a car on fire, and the police went to the scene and they had an altercation with a man who was brandishing a knife at them. And when it eventually settled and they got the man under control, the knife was nowhere to be seen. And that's because this crow had flown in and stolen this piece of evidence. And there's a great photo of the crow with the knife in its mouth. So Canuck the crow became an instant celebrity for being such a badass crow. But something sad happened. It was that last year, Canuck went missing. Canuck is a very friendly crow. He had a band on his legs, and so he's gone. And there was a big, there was a search for him, and people were very concerned. But it's a little hard to be concerned about a missing crow because, like, as cool of a crow as he is, do we really know if he's missing or not? Like, there was posts on Facebook that'd be like, possible Canuck the crow sighting in Stanley Park. And then the next day they'd be like, we checked Stanley Park. He wasn't there. You checked all of Stanley Park, the biggest park in a city ever, maybe besides Central Park, but in whatever park, and you can determine that one crow is not in there. Who is this amazing pet detective? That's like the reboot of the Jim Carrey thing, only where his pet detective skills are incredible. Actually, he might have been a great detective in that movie. I'm not really sure. Plus, also the answer is easy where Canuck is. Like, yeah, possibly Canuck is dead, but that's only if the bad guy from that fire, the criminal, got out of prison and then went immediately to go off the only person who knows the real deal, Canuck. But how I see it more optimistically. I think what's likely is the crook did get out of prison, did go after Canuck. Canuck was bright and took the witness protection and now is, being a charming crow down on a beach in Palm Springs or something. Changes his name. Canuck's a stupid name anyways. Roscoe the crow. That's as far as my imagination would go. Using my own name. I'm not proud of that. Anyways, we have a good show ahead of you guys. Please give it up for the very funny Ryan Gunther.
All right. Well, here we are doing stand-up comedy to geese, which is a first for me, but they haven't heard my jokes before, so that's nice. A little while ago, obviously more than a little while ago because I have not been outside in 2 months, but quite a while ago, I overheard a white woman telling somebody that she took one of those like ancestry DNA tests and found out that she is 1% black. And the guy that she was talking to jokingly asked her which part. And she didn't say my dick. And that is why I can't hang out with non-comedians. Guys, like, you can't just leave that on the table, lady. I mean, is it a great joke? No. But can I be friends with somebody who either doesn't think of it or has the impulse control not to say it? Also, no. Does it matter that we were in church? No, it does not. Not if you respect the game. This is obviously very awkward, doing jokes to absolutely no laughs, just one person chuckling and the occasional unrelated calls of seagulls. But it is not a first for me, because I have done 2 comedy shows in old folks' homes, and it is a very similar experience. It is a place where like you can't, there's no auditory feedback. You might, if you can see them smile, get like positive reinforcement. Some of them fall asleep or die. You can't tell which it is. But that was not even the worst part, because I've bombed before. That's fine. But I was doing this show at an old folks home, and it was just like a meeting room, and so the like backstage was actually the hallway, and so I was waiting in the hallway to go on, and these old folks kept wandering up to see what was going on, because I guess normally, as I was told, it was movie nights on Monday nights, but so they would say, "What's going on?" And then I'd tell them that it was a comedy show. And some of them would be like sweet, radical, or whatever like old people say, and other ones would not be into it, and they'd walk away, and that's totally fine. But this one little old lady shuffled up and says, "What's happening?" I said, "Oh, it's a comedy show." And then she just paused and said, "Oh, I've seen enough comedy." And then she turned and shuffled away, and I was like, wow, like, okay, I guess. But then I thought about it. It's like, like she probably has seen enough comedy. She's like 95 years old. She could have seen like Pryor and Carlin live, even Lenny Bruce, maybe. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe she has seen enough comedy. Like 6 years ago now, I think, I ate the best steak that I will probably ever have in my life. Certainly better than anything I've had since then. And I mean, I still buy steaks and eat them, and am a little bit disappointed every time. And so I can totally see how after another 40 or 50 years of continual disappointment, I'll just be like, I've had enough steak, and shuffle back to my room. This is obviously a weird time with the COVID going around. And most people probably know that like COVID, they think originated in bats, but it couldn't spread directly from bats to humans. And so one of the theories about like how it became a human pandemic is the pangolin, this cute little armored anteater looking motherfuckers. They think they may have been like an intermediary carrier. And there's a lot of debate. Nothing is actually proven yet. But I personally, I really want that to be true, because that is just a great story. Like, if it's actually true that this animal that is like almost extinct, that is super endangered because it is the most trafficked animal in the world, and one of these little guys like took a bat disease and modified it and spread it to humans by being eaten, and then caused like the collapse of civilization, like that is an amazing revenge story, basically worthy of an Oscar, right? Like, picture, the evil dictator in his office. He's like on the phone ordering like a drone strike on a village, and then he gets interrupted, and he's mad. He's like, what's going on? And it's this cute little pangolin servant who comes in, and it's like, you're interrupting me, but the pangolin, he just wants to give him a hug. Oh, sweet little pangolin. So then he softens, and the pangolin's giving him a hug, but then he feels something on his neck, and it's a wire. And he looks down, and the pangolin is wearing a suicide vest. And he tries to pull away, but the pangolin is hugging him too tight. Zoom in on his face as realization dawns, cut to credits. That is an amazing movie. Obviously, the real thing is not as dramatic. It's not quite as immediate when the device in question is like a disease that takes 14 days to show whether you have it or not. But like at the species level, that is basically what is happening. And as the kids say, I am here for it. I saw there's an article that apparently in 2019, 11 people died trying to climb Mount Everest. And I know what you're thinking, because I'm thinking the exact same thing. That is not nearly enough people. All of those rich type A assholes in one place, and we only got 11 of them? Come on. We need somebody up there, like, tying bootlaces together, cutting oxygen cords at night, give them a little push when they're tired, whatever it takes to get those numbers up. We are losing the class war, and we can't just sit around praying for lightning storms on golf courses. That kills less people than Everest. The best part about rich people dying is that it is always self-defense. And I mean, you laugh, but if I can convince just one person to murder a billionaire, I will have done more for the environment than David Suzuki. Parody, non-actionable. Since I've been in quarantine, as I like to say, living my best life, I have just been playing video games all the time, which is like what I would like to do anyway. And this is obviously an older video game related story, but I don't know if this has happened to anyone else, but like video games actually like bled into my perception of reality, because what happened is that one time for Christmas, as a joke, my brother bought me Farming Simulator, and then I played it for like a month solid. And then a little while later, during the summer, I did a tour where I had to drive across Canada, and I recognize farm equipment now. That is not a side effect of video games that I had been warned about. Like, I don't know if you understand this, but I have never been to a farm. I can't even really garden successfully, but I have strong opinions about combine harvesters now. Like New Holland, Massey Ferguson, that is the business. But if I see a John Deere combine on a farm, I'm just like, what do you think you're gonna do with that fucking toy? Do you think did you buy it because of a country and western song? Like, come on. It's also a weird, like, just as a video game, because in some ways it was totally unrealistic. Like, you could just drive through pedestrians and make money as a farmer, and that doesn't happen in real life. But then in other ways, like, it was 100% realistic how hard it is to back up with a trailer. Like, just flawless jackknife physics. This one time I was just decided to do more normal video game stuff, so I like bailed on my chores for the day and just went and did some joyriding in my pickup truck. And so I like bombing across the farm in my truck, take a jump, flip it. Okay, so I think that was the cannon.
Yeah. Oh, it's 7 p.m. maybe.
Is the, yeah. Oh.
Oh. Hey,
I have never
you're applauding your jokes. Finished.
No, you have to applaud at the end of the joke.
Oh, wow, Ryan did it. The whole city is going wild.
The whole city is applauding for me in the middle of the joke.
Well done. They shot a cannon to interrupt your final joke, maybe. Finish it off with all respect to frontline workers.
Oh, now those people are clapping over there.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Why don't you take a little bow?
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you shouldn't have. I'm just doing comedy. It's not that big a deal. It's very hard, but it's not that big a deal.
Okay, so you were joyriding in your pickup.
Yeah, so I took a jump in my pickup truck, flipped it, and it rolled onto the roof. And then it just stayed like that. I don't know if that's ever happened to you in a video game before, but it's very jarring. Like, I had to get out of the truck, walk back to the farm, get in a forklift, drive the forklift around the outside of the farm. I can't roll that thing over. I have to buy another fucking forklift. Roll the truck back over, drive the forklift back to the farm. It does me no good way at the fuck off end of the farm. It probably took 30 minutes real time. That is a mature video game. Like, not the kind of bullshit that actually gets the M rating where you just like get shot 9 times, drink a Coke and you're fine, but like actually making you deal with the realistic consequences of your dumbass behavior. Like, the only way that could have been better is if the game actually like popped a message up on the screen that just says, who did you think was gonna fix it for you? Your mom? She's not here. You're a farmer now, grow up. Is that enough jokes?
Oh yeah, big time.
Cut!
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for doing that. That was very funny. Is that that has not happened ever? We've shot around 7 p.m. That has never.
But it's never been right at 7. Yeah, I don't even. I'm
yeah.
surprised by it basically every day that I'm outside because
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't hear it when I'm inside. But
Oh, we do it. Anyways, thanks, Ryan. Let's chit chat.
yeah,
I'm here with Ryan Gunther, very funny stand-up comedian. Just did stand-up. We are in Crab Park, I think. Ryan, how are you doing?
it's great.
Yeah.
Loving it. Loving
Yeah.
life. This is my best life. This is the dream.
The social distance life is your best life?
Just like most things are canceled.
Yes.
I love canceling plans.
Yes.
I love not having to go to things that I had been thinking I'd have to
Yeah.
go to. And so like everything is canceled. I'm working from home, so it kind of feels like a vacation because even though I am like going to work, I'm physically at the same desk that I would be at if I wasn't at work. Like
Yeah.
I would spend all day on a computer that is literally beside my work computer.
Plus, you are surrounded by some of the cutest kitties in the world.
Yes, my cats are there. My
Yeah.
cats come up and walk in front of me during video conference calls.
Oh, that's cute. And everyone cheers. They put down their
Yeah.
pens.
Everybody loves the cats.
Clementine and
Avery.
Avery, of course. Sorry. So Clementine is the cutest of the cute.
Well, she is the precocious, like, camera suck sort of one.
Yeah.
Avery is just chill.
But Avery's also a very pretty
He's
cat, but
very-
is like,
Very nice to look at,
Yeah.
but also very sweet and just likes to lie around and
so it's a true thing that I like cats as well. But I don't. It's sad for me to say this, but Ryan made a catio.
catio, yes.
A catio, researched, bought things, spent money, made an outdoor thing so your cats can hang outside in the sun. A thing I've never done. I think I would love to do for Jimmy.
Yeah, well, what happened is that my previous cat, Mr. Worm, was like a
Mr.
stray
Worm,
cat
yeah.
who I rescued in Victoria on the Galloping Goose Trail. He was just out there when I was biking, and he was obviously like super skinny, so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
went back and he was still there, took him home. And anyway, so he was like an outdoor all the time cat, like, you know, would basically just go out all night and be back in the morning sort of thing. And then we got Avery, who had been an indoor cat his whole life, and we were like, oh, well, he's pretty big. It's probably okay for him to go outside. And then he went outside for like a little while, and then the second day a little while longer, and then the third day he just did not come back.
Wow.
And so at 2 a.m. I'm like out there calling him, and he does not answer.
Stressful.
Doesn't care. Luckily he was wearing a bell, so I could track him. He was like a couple houses over, just sniffing around the bushes, didn't care that I was calling him at all. And so we're like, okay, well, you obviously cannot be trusted. So we decided to enclose our little patio. It's like, I don't know, 8 feet square or something like that. So,
You did a great job.
So it's completely enclosed in chicken wire, and then like various levels, and there's a ladder, there's a little cat house. It's pretty sweet.
I love it. That is wonderful. Okay, so you love this indoor life. What have you been using your?
I do a webcomic.
Oh, yeah.
That's sort of the only thing that hasn't stopped because it is not real. And then I play video games all day.
And your webcomic is about video games.
My webcomic is about video games. Yes, that is very true. It's called The NPCs, and it's about the NPCs in like an RPG village.
So
like
NPC stands for non-playable character.
Yeah,
So
and
they are
in-
stuck in a reality.
In like old, this is sort of like Nintendo, Sega Genesis
Right.
era graphics, and it's so in that era you would have these characters that you would go and you would talk to, and they would just have one thing that
One
they
stock
say,
answer.
and then something in the world changes, and then they would say a second thing.
Yeah.
Or else you just talk to them because they like sell you stuff or whatever. But the idea of this is that they're real people, and what do they do when the hero's not around?
Yeah.
And dealing with just the completely non-functional nature of video games world.
So like that a hero comes in and takes armor, all the armors or something.
Yeah.
Or,
And just like like there is no food in video games. And,
Right,
there are like 20 people in the town and one bed.
right. Yeah. Totally.
Sort of fleshing that whole thing
Rich
out.
for comedy, absolutely. So and then you can find that mostly on Instagram.
It's
on
on
the website?
Instagram at
Yeah.
mine, which I think is Ryan Gunther was taken, and then it's on Twitter at NPC Village
Okay,
and
cool.
npcvillage.com.
Sweet. And then, so what video games are you playing these days?
Oh, so right now I'm playing Animal Crossing.
I knew that.
and,
I've seen it all over your social media.
It is the perfect game for quarantine because so my wife and I are both playing it.
Oh, crazy.
And we are just doing all of the things in the video game that we cannot do in real life. So we are like going out and buying furniture and decorating the house and like just walking around outside.
Nice.
That is like 95% of what you do in the game is just be outside. And so we are sitting inside 100% of the time playing this thing where we walk around and catch fish and do all sorts of
So, okay, so I spoke
do.
to Matty Vu about this game, and he said his character looks just like him. Does your character look like you?
No, because I haven't figured out how to do a beard, and I feel like that and balding are like my two most prominent features. And this is, I think in the game, like everybody's supposed to be a kid.
Yeah.
It's like.
But a kid who's buying a house, yes?
Yeah, like Nintendo is a very weird, like it's for kids, but it's also not for kids at all.
Yeah,
like there are
strange.
definitely some lines in the game where you're just like, oh, that would go right over a kid's
Right.
head. And also like if you actually think about what you are doing in the game, it's basically an imperial fantasy. Like you are the emperor of this island, and it's like on the surface everybody's equal, and you're just you're a bunch of villagers, and you're just living on this idyllic island.
I'm going to stop your story right away because you, in the one social media post I saw, you are wearing a robe in yours.
I put on a robe because that was the day that I literally moved a neighbor's house to the other side of the island to make more room for my yard. I wanted to expand my yard, and the house was in the way, and I, as the emperor of the land, can just be like, you move. We're just having a cutesy time in the village, and everyone's nice to me. It's like, yeah, everyone's nice to me because I can kick them out of the game.
Yeah,
like I literally bullied a guy off the island that I didn't like.
How do you bully in the game?
You hit them with your dip net every day. Until they move away.
Oh man! So there are other cutesy characters, and you're hitting them with your bug net?
Yeah. So that's like you have an axe, but you can't actually axe murder anyone. But you can hit people with their net, and if you do it enough times, then they're like, "Hey, stop that!"
They get the hint.
And you're like, "No, I'll be back tomorrow."
Okay, so maybe I also listed this with Maddie, but imagine this scenario. Maybe this does exist in the world, but I'm pitching a game where all these different people have Animal Crossing villages.
Yep.
And then now someone else makes a video game, Nintendo, but like they make a video game where all those villages are linked by like a world.
Well, so in Animal Crossing, if you pay for the Nintendo online service, you can go and visit other people's.
But what I want
islands.
is the world in between. Like, so you go out, you're crafting your armor, you're a person, you're whatever, and then you go into the other video game world that's like
so you mean like
an RPG.
So like all of
in between.
those things in one open world.
Yes, the open world is the hub. You move through to go visit your person. Either you can get there right away, or you go and you have these adventures.
I feel like that's a very science fiction idea of like that's the sort of thing that would happen in a science fiction show about a video game.
Yeah, I might not have the most realistic.
The reality of video games is that even just getting two people to play together is technically very hard.
Challenging, yeah. Darn it. Someday.
Yeah, it would be very cool.
You can imagine though, like a Zelda game, which I loved, like The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. So, well.
I don't know what you're trying to say. So.
Well, I was saying like that sort of overworld, linking these things. But I guess that's just one game. It's not two games.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like. Like I think what would have to happen is that it would be the next Animal Crossing where you have your village, but then to leave the village is not this like big deal. Like right now, you go to the airport and then you do all of this like stuff to say, I want to go here, and you put in your friend code and all this crap to like link up with somebody else's thing, and then it like literally saves your game and reloads you in the other person's.
Right.
So it would just be Animal Crossing, except that you just walk out of town and there's stuff there.
Animal World.
Animal World, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, sorry, there's geese having a little scruffle over there. Okay, so let's hear. So, what is your town called? Do you get to name your town?
Oh, what is my town called? I think I called it Rouville.
Rouville?
Rouville.
Oh, I like
All
that.
the roos down in Rouville.
Oh, I love that. Are you and your wife in the same town?
Yeah, so I got it because my wife also likes to play it. It's like one of the only games that she enjoys,
Yeah.
and so we got the Switch, and you can kind of play together, but really maybe because of like processing power or something, you can't do the whole game together at the same time.
Right.
So then what happens is that now the downside of trying to interest your spouse in something is that she wants to play the game and I cannot play.
Well, this is sort of rare circumstances that everyone's just at home all the time.
Well, yeah,
so it's like a
there's that
weird
too.
thing. Ah, fair enough. So you're also quite active in your church these days.
Yes. I mean, I'm always active, but now I am doing it at home as we do everything.
What do you
It's
guys
actually
do?
very similar to this whole situation. So normally I'm what's called a Sunday service associate, which is like the host for the church service.
Okay.
So I go up in front of people on a Sunday morning and do the welcomes and announcements, and then have like a 3-minute thing specific to that week that is like kind of funny but also kind of churchy. And now that we are not going to church physically, I am recording it at home early.
Wow.
On my
To be ahead of their
yeah, so
video
I mean,
service.
it's basically the exact same progression that Jokes Please went through, where we were doing church, and then along comes this thing, and then we did 2, I think. I was only involved in doing one of them, but we did 2 where it was like live in an empty building.
Right.
And then it's like, nope, everybody, and so we like, shoot it during the week, and then a couple people edit it together, and then it gets put up on YouTube live, but it's like pre-recorded on Sunday mornings.
So, and similarly, like we don't hear laughs as comedians at this show, and the priest doesn't hear the amens.
No, it's actually, so not while you're recording it, but then, I don't know if you watch Jokes Please on YouTube when it goes up live. But
yeah, when
like
it goes up live, comment,
stuff. So that's kind of, I don't know, the first time I saw it, it was kind of weird. It's like all these people are talking during church.
Oh yeah, same with the comedy show. It felt like they were lightly heckling during the live stream of it. I love it though now. The other thing that really was hard for me to adjust to was normally during Jokes Please, during the performance of it, I am doing comedy.
Yes.
And that was when my job was done, and I just would sit back and be chit-chatting. And I was like, how crazy is it to be in a show that you are also watching? It was wild.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is that I think it's mostly listening. I hate listening to my own voice.
Yeah.
And so like when I was watching a service that I was in, I like physically took my headset off.
Oh yeah, I go into the kitchen and I like make food when I'm on stage.
It's like, I don't want to see it. I hope it looks good. Check the beginning and end, but do not want to see it.
What a nightmare. Do the parishioners, is that the word? Do the parishioners enjoy this? Are they like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to tell like attendance, but I think like the live watchers is very similar to a Sunday morning in real church.
Great.
And then also it's like, there's no physical barrier, so there's all these people who didn't come to church for whatever reason,
right?
And then also people who've moved away, people who have absolutely no like physical affiliation. They're just like a friend who's in the church sends them a link, and they just watch it. It's a crazy world. It
is a crazy world. I love that idea. I don't love church that much, but this I like the idea of like removing physical barriers of people coming to church makes sense is an important thing. There are the cutest Goslings around us again.
They're right behind me.
Yeah, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. I was raised all churchy and not so churchy anymore. But things like Goslings make me feel churchy. So, Ryan Gunther, everyone. And now look at those geese. Thanks for doing it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
the stand-up was great. And, it's lovely out here. We've had quite an adventurous time out here. Helicopters have taken off.
That weird loud boat 2 times.
Oh, there's been a very loud boat. Also, there was people listening to that Push It song quite loudly.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been quite an adventure. And also, I just want to say on this, thank you very much for your help on the very first Jokes Please that we taped.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So did you watch the second one by chance? No.
I don't think so.
So I think what happened was that on the first one, I screwed up or something, didn't have Chris Griffin and Sophia's stand-up. And then on the second week, there was a technical error with the video. The second week I aired the stand-up of 2 comedians that I didn't think I had the footage of because I forgot that Ryan did backup filming with my iPhone instead of the main cameras.
Oh, so the main camera crapped out?
Yeah, something happened. And then, so
yeah,
I just...
I vaguely remember you telling me that.
So I was in such a rush that I did not watch the footage of their sets. I just watched the start and the end. But what happened was Ryan was like picking up B-roll. And so what happened is like, you start on the comedians and then you just like filmed Mike Greenwood watching and I didn't know. So we're watching this thing live and people are commenting and then a person in the comments goes like...
Wait, you put the whole thing
put the whole thing
unseen?
So it's just like, my God. So they're just, Sophia and Chris are doing it and then you just have a camera on my girlfriend as she's like sitting there looking at this thing and then the one of the comments just goes, lol, the cameraman. And it was very funny. But like anyone who watches it back is like, what is happening here?
Oh man, I need to watch that because that is, it was 100% B-roll. Like I was rolling one take, but it was just like, okay, I'm gonna get 5 seconds of this.
It was because I was just too far behind. I just didn't. I gotta get these out earlier. But anyways, thank you for your help on that. Please give it up for the very funny Andy Canete.
Oh, they're playing with the geese.
Please don't chase geese. There's these kids being rude to geese. They're trying to get them off the baseball field so they don't hit the geese with baseballs, supposedly. But, hey, it's the geese's baseball field. They were there first.
It is called the Goose Baseball Field.
It is the Goose Baseball Field. That's Andy Canete. Hilarious comedian Andy Canete. You ready to rock and roll?
Okay, so I've noticed on your show, there's a lot of people telling like jokes about the coronavirus, right? I was in the Corona movie. I'm really bored of it, so I don't want to talk about it.
Me neither. Good, thank God.
Yeah. So I did happen to break my wrists in September, and both of them, and I think that's funny. That's the funny stuff. So I wrote a lot of stuff down, like a little funny anecdotes, and I thought maybe I could like make it into a one-man show, like all the crap that I went through these broken wrist situations. And I'd like to try some of the material tonight. Would you like that, Ross?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay, so I have it all written down. Okay, so it all started. I broke my wrist on Labor Day weekend on a Monday. I was by the Nanaimo SkyTrain. I hit this little bump in the road. I flipped over. I landed like that. I broke both my wrists. And it was like right by the bus loop on the Nanaimo SkyTrain. And there must have been like 50 people. And 2 came to help me. 2 young people. And they were very nervous. And they were just like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And I was just like, well, pick me up. And one guy went to grab my arm, and I was just like, I don't think that's gonna work because I broke both my wrists. And so they picked me up from my shoulders, and I felt bad because I had sweaty, but they picked me up and they threw me to the side kind of thing. And one of them called the ambulance, and the ambulance showed up. I don't know if you've been to the hospital lately or ever, but you can't get a straight answer from anybody at the hospital. Like you could have an axe in your head and you'd be like, I got this axe in my head. And they're like, well, it could be an axe. It could be just a laceration. We don't know. It might take a couple weeks. We don't really know. The only person that's going to give you a straight answer is the doctor with the x-ray. So anyways, I is in the ambulance. And this one I knew was broken. This was broken. But this one I was actually moving it around a little bit. Ended up being the scaphoid. And the scaphoid's like a little deceptive. Like you can actually move it around. It's that, a lot of people, it goes undetected a lot of the time. So I'm talking to the guy in the ambulance, the paramedic, and I was like, I know this one's broken. This one I'm hoping is a sprain. And he looks at me and he goes, who knows? This one might be a sprain too. And I was like, really? Because this bone was over here.
Oh, God.
And this other one was over here, and my hand was sunk.
Yeah.
Like you can see the scar.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, look at that scar. Huh?
Holy.
And this guy trying to tell me, like I'm no expert. So anyways, we get to the hospital, and I'm there, and like I had a friend and my mom were there with me. Yeah. And I was kind of hoping, I was like, I went in for the x-rays, a lot of x-rays, and then a guy comes out, and he's smiling. And he gives me the bad news, but while he's smiling, he's telling me and he's looking at me like, So we got the x-rays. You've broken your wrists, both of them. You broke the scaphoid in this one. You've broken 2 bones in this one.
Oh.
Both will require surgery. And also, you broke your elbow,
Oh my God.
your right elbow. And I was like, yeah. And I kind of put my head down like this, and I looked up, and the guy was still smiling. And I'm like, you sadistic dick. Like, I guess in his head he's trained to tell him, like, you know, like you smile, like it's good news, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, I looked around the waiting room, and everybody was like this. Like, yeah, good luck with those broken wrists, kind of thing. So I was admitted in for surgery. Well, this is where it kind of gets tricky. I had a guy. Okay, so you know Muhammad Ali? Okay, he had a guy that was always like, you know, writing poems for him. He was like his hype man, that guy.
Yeah.
Mine was named Manny, and he was a Filipino guy. And he pushes me around the whole hospital, and he was all like, "You got this." And he was calling me Andres because that's the name on my care cards. I didn't correct him that it was Andy. He was like,
Yeah.
"You got this, Andres. You got this, Andres." And so he pulls me into the operating room, and he was all like, "Oh, okay." So he pulls me into the operating. That was nice of her to go around.
She's never heard from again.
So they pulled me into the operating room, and I'm looking, like, the thing is that right before they pushed me in, they were telling me that there was a slight chance when I go under, I'd never been under, I'd never been operated before, but there's a chance that I could die.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, it was more like some people never come out after getting under. Like, it's usually people with like heart problems or smokers, they told me, and they're like, it's 0.1%, you'll be fine. And I'm kind of like, all right, you know, I'm going to take that chance. So, but I was totally fine with it until they pulled me into the operating room. And you've acted before, yes, Ross? Okay.
Sure.
So you know that part where it's like you're rehearsing your lines, and all of a sudden it's your turn, and they bring you in, and all of a sudden the room just starts to fill up,
Yeah, totally.
and you realize it's your turn.
Yeah.
You know? So I had 2 doctors, by the way. I had one operating on this one and another one operating
Wow.
on this one. Each one had their own nurses, and each one also had their own students. So the room was packed. And the room, they're like lighting it, and like people are starting to fill up everywhere. And I start looking around, and I'm like, all right. And I'm thinking, and Manny's like, you got this, Andres. And so I was kind of like a little nervous, and I was like, I'm looking for a sign that I'm going to be okay. So I start looking around, like, tell me, you know, I'm going to be okay. And all of a sudden, this nurse walks in, and she's got a Toronto Raptors bandana. And I do not like the Toronto Raptors.
Oh,
I know.
shocking.
You're going to get a light of typing like Raptor hater. I'm a Sixers fan. I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan. But I don't know if you guys saw playoffs last year, but my Sixers were eliminated in the most horrific way ever by the Toronto Raptors. In the last second, a guy shot the ball, and it bounced 4 times as the time went out, and then it went through, and my Sixers were eliminated,
Wow.
and the Raptors went on to win a championship. And I see the Raptors, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. The doctors, like, God's telling me, abort.
This is it. Yeah.
So I say to the nurse, I'm like, are you a Raptors fan? And she looks at me and she goes, no, I am actually, I just like basketball. I got this from a friend, but I'm actually a San Antonio Spurs fan. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, proceed, right? So then but this is the other thing that's weird. Okay, what they didn't tell me, they warned me about everything, about that stupid operation, but no one told me that when you get knocked out, there's no time lapse. So literally, like, you close your eyes, you open them, and you've been operated on.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's what it feels like. Obviously, that's not what really happens, but that's what it feels like. So I'm thinking I'm gonna die right before I get knocked out. And literally, I close my eyes, and I hear this lady say, Andy, wake up. And I'm all like, I don't want to be awake. I want them to operate. I don't want to be awake during the operation. She's like, Andy, wake up. Andy, wake up. And I wake up, and I'm in this non-disclosed room, and it's all white, and I'm by myself. And this nurse looks me in the eye, and she goes, are you from Chile? And I am. So I was like, I died. I freaking died. Like, in my head, I thought, I'm like, I died. I can't believe this, right? And I was like, how do you know? And she goes, your mom came by to see you. I was like, oh, thank God. I literally, for 10 seconds, thought I died. I thought I was dead. So anyways, I got sent home, and that's when, like, you know, all the things started. I had to figure out how to live with 2 broken wrists. And there's a lot of stuff you take for granted, like, you know, opening faucets, cooking, Everybody asked me two things. They were like, can you wipe your ass and can you masturbate? People are rude. People are rude. And I could wipe my ass, barely, but I could. I could not masturbate. Could not do that. But it's funny because I was on so many drugs. By the way, Oxycontin is amazing. I was on so many drugs I didn't even feel like doing it. But I had people afterwards, I did this bit at Jokes Please, and I had friends come up to me afterwards, like women friends, and like, Andy, you could have asked. And I was like, you don't ask that. You don't ask. I would have been arrested if I had asked you. But another thing, so I started going on SkyTrains with broken wrists. And at first, I'd get on with and people would give me their seats. And I was like really excited. I was like, oh, okay, I get to sit. But then the cast came off and I had like these bandages and people weren't as friendly with the seats. They weren't giving them up anymore. So I was getting annoyed. So like I'd go to the part where it's like for handicapped and I'd just put there'd be people on their phone, these kids on their phone sitting in the handicap seat. And I put my wrists in between their face and the phone, like get up off the seat. And then they would get up. And this old lady was like watching me and she goes, don't you think you're milking this a little bit too much?
Shocking.
And I looked at her and I was like, lady, I got 2 broken wrists. I can't milk anything. That's,
Is that it?
No, I got
No,
one
you have
last
more,
one.
okay.
I got one last one. Okay, so I got a neighbor, and he just moved in. He's a big guy. He's like 6'4". He's like 250. He's very intimidating. But he was playing music very loud for like when he moved in, and he was playing it at all hours. And I don't mind during the day, but when I'm trying to sleep, it's thin walls in my apartment building. So I went over once at 2 a.m. and I knocked on the door and I was like, listen, man, can you I'm cool during the day, but at night it's 2 a.m. And he understood and he was apologetic about it. And he didn't do it again. But I broke my wrist and I couldn't, there was a lot of times I needed help from my neighbors. I couldn't open cans and stuff like that, right? So I was choosing like one neighbor at a time. I wasn't going to the same neighbor every time. So I was like, it's his turn. So I couldn't open the window. So I go over there and it's like, I can hear the music, so I know he's there. So I knocked on the door and it was like 8 p.m. and he wouldn't open the door. And I knocked again and he wouldn't open the door. And I kind of did a third time and he opened the door and he's like, what? And I think he thought I was going to complain about the music. And I was there with 2 broken wrists. And I looked at him and I was all like, I can't open my windows. Yeah. Just.
He's going fishing.
Yeah. You totally ruined it.
Yeah, no, it was good timing.
That's it.
Yeah,
that was
that's
the big
it.
closer.
No, I thought the milk was the big closer, and this was the
Well,
addendum.
you can
Yeah.
edit
No,
it.
you can stay right here with
Yeah,
me. Andy, I loved it. Did you feel as though these crows were heckling you actively?
Yeah.
That was, wow, they're over here. There's like it was, because I was really enjoying your set. I was like, oh, I think that Andy is the harbinger of doom. So you've healed well.
Scars.
Yeah.
Well, I had a joke too where people were asking friends of mine if I was suicidal.
Oh, brutal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're better. I'm glad that the crows do not loathe me the way they loathe you.
Yeah.
Because that must be tough, that every time you try and do comedy, a murder of crows.
They walk into shows sometimes and they do that.
Difficult.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do a chit chat and get out of here. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
I'm here with Andy Canete, very good friend, very hilarious comedian. We're in Trout Lake. The sun is setting. We
Yep.
have a timeline. Thank you for being here, Andy. How are you doing?
I love that you invited me during Magic Hour.
Yeah.
You're like the Terrence Malick.
Oh, yeah. I'm like the Terrence Malick of outdoor
Jokes,
comedy. That is very funny. So you bring up Terrence Malick right out of the gate because we were chatting about it before.
No, we weren't. That was totally. That was just.
So Andy Canete is a very funny stand-up comedian, but also you act professionally.
Yes.
And we were talking about the way that people don't always realize that the people who are on the posters, they know that they're in movies,
Yes.
but a lot of the people underneath don't know whether they're going to be in or not in a movie.
It's always a surprise. You don't know if you're going to be in it or not if you're just a day player. Yeah.
So yeah, you've been a day player for a long time. You're a professional actor, and you were supposed to be in, or thought you were in, did the work for one of the biggest movies to shoot in Vancouver in a long time, which was Deadpool 2.
I had an important scene
Yeah.
in Deadpool 2 that I was cut out of.
And so how do you find out that you're cut out? Does the director call you and say, Andy, I'm so sorry?
I wish they were that nice.
What happens?
Well, okay, I'll tell you. The way I found out I got cut out of Deadpool 2 was I was on stage.
Doing stand-up.
I was doing stand-up on
Yeah.
stage in Kelowna.
Oh.
And so, like, I arrived in the afternoon, and the movie came out that afternoon.
Right.
And I had no time to go see, I don't like watching myself anyways, but I didn't go see.
Yeah.
And I was on stage Friday night, Kelowna, and the guy, David, the guy that runs the show,
Yeah.
he introduced me saying, this guy was just in Deadpool 2.
Yeah. Please give it up for the
Yeah.
star of Deadpool 2,
The star of Deadpool
Andy
2.
Canete. Yeah.
And I showed up and I got on stage and I was like, listen, I'll be honest with you guys. The movie came out today. I don't know if I made the final cut.
Right.
Has anybody seen the movie? And there was a guy in the back and he goes, I've seen the movie. And I was all like, am I in it? And he goes, no.
Big laugh in the room?
No.
No.
There was just like there was a lot of
shoot.
kind of,
But you were like a pro, so you know that those are the breaks, them's the breaks here or there. But like
Yeah.
to the outside world, not everyone. Okay,
that the same dog?
okay, pretty dogs. What? Okay, the pretty dog is off leash. Zinging the dog on leash is what's happening over there.
We're
That's
gonna need
rude.
security. Yeah, we're shooting something. The dog doesn't care.
Yeah, the dog off leash is the one who should be kind to the one on leash.
Well, usually that's the way
Yeah.
it should. That's not
Because the
way.
one on leash is feeling like, hey, I can't be me.
No. The one on leash is protecting the owner.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how it works.
I don't know anything about dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, so Deadpool, the scene that you were supposed to be in is the one where they're all jumping out of the airplane.
Yes.
And you were supposed to be on the ground, and you had a funny part.
Yes.
That got cut.
I was basically reacting to all these people dying.
Yeah. Which in that movie is played for comedy.
Yes.
So it's right up your alley.
Yes, exactly. And I was telling you before, but I'll tell again. The way I did it, because when you audition for something, there's like 30 or 40 people that go audition, and they don't remember everybody. So it's always my objective to be remembered, and I
Right.
might bomb,
You're right. Yeah.
The
You're taking
audition.
a risk. Yeah.
but they're gonna remember me
Yeah. Totally.
no matter what.
So you bring in Rotten Tomatoes, spike one on the floor.
I could,
You come in, you immediately take your lips, and you go.
they would remember me. For
Right.
that.
You
I might
come in
never
with your
audition it.
eyelids flipped up like that.
Exactly.
Should I do that right now on camera?
Don't do that.
Do you, what,
I
you
don't like
Oh,
that.
I guess it's virus times. I shouldn't be touching my eyes.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
Okay.
That's where
you
the
just
germs
got
go.
saved by that.
That's where the germs go. Yeah, so I went in there and they told me to react to these people dying, and I thought to myself, how are people going to react to people
Right.
dying? They're probably going to scream.
Right. They're gonna be horrified.
They're going to be horrified.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I'll do the old flippity flu,
Yeah. Sure.
and I'll act annoyed.
Right.
Like these guys are, because they're landing in my yard.
Oh yeah, that would be annoying.
So I'm like watering my yard, and all these guys are dying in my
Right.
yard, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, seriously, like where are these idiots coming from? Get
Yeah.
a life. That was my.
Yeah.
And they didn't even ask me to do it twice. They were like, thank you, and they didn't laugh, by the way.
Oh.
They were like, thank you, goodbye.
Noted.
Noted. And they let me go, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay. And a month and a half later, I got a call, not even for a second audition. They were
Right.
just like, it's yours.
Wait, and also on big movies like this, does this have a code name?
Yes, that was the other thing.
So it wasn't Deadpool 2 that you were auditioning for? What were you auditioning for?
No. It was, I can't remember the exact.
Yeah.
But it was something. There was actually two of them. One was Pacific Blue, I think
Okay.
it was.
Sounds like a beer.
Yeah, and the other one was, I think it was like Disco George.
Right. And they also do shoot productions very similar to Disco George in Vancouver.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it could have
yeah.
very easily been that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I figured it out.
So and also though, so you are in an interesting thing that has not been released yet, is you are in the only COVID-19 movie
Yeah.
that we know of.
I
that's
think there
been
was a
made.
COVID-18 one, but
Oh.
that one didn't.
They missed it.
That went straight to video.
Yeah. Yeah. So you acted in this relatively recently.
Yeah, I Valentine's Day this year,
Oh, crazy.
I shot a movie. We shot in 2 days, and it was all in one shot.
Right, a oneer.
A oneer.
Crazy.
And basically it's about the director. He was reading about how, like, in the newspapers, there were some papers that were calling it the Chinese disease.
Right.
And he kind of got annoyed by that.
Because it's a little racist.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bid racist.
Yeah.
I bet you there's a lot of people that are going to be commenting on your thing.
A lot.
A lot of racists, like, hey, it is a Chinese.
I don't think that's who's watching these
Yeah,
episodes
well,
so
we'll
far.
see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what my family
Well,
members
yeah,
think.
So, anyways, he thought of this idea about like shooting something in an elevator, and the idea is that there's like 7 of us. We all get caught in an elevator, stuck in an elevator, and before the elevator gets stuck, we start talking, and then we hear that somebody in the building. There's a
Has
rumor that somebody has
the
the
virus.
disease.
Right, yeah.
And at that moment, a Chinese lady
Ah.
who doesn't speak a word of English jumps on the elevator,
Oh.
and then it gets stuck.
Right, and then challenges
And then
yeah.
hijinks.
hijinks, elevator hijinks.
An hour of hijinks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have not seen it yet? Is it
I
out?
have not seen it. I don't like looking at myself.
Right.
I probably won't watch this.
Well, when it releases, I will watch it, and I
No,
will.
no, no. I'm talking about this, but we're shooting.
Oh, this. Well, when this releases, I'll watch this
Yeah, I
as
know
well
you'll
as I
watch
edit
it.
it.
You'll watch it, but I.
You have to watch this because there's a live chat, and you have to be there. All the comedians have showed up. It's fun.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch. You can mute. You can mute that just like. being
you
in
know
the
what?
chat.
I can hear it.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
And just not watch it.
That sounds great. So
Yeah.
I will watch your COVID movie though to see if they green screened you out of the one or where you're in the elevator.
Yeah, it's tough. That's gonna be a tough one because
That's why it hasn't released yet because of
Yeah.
all the rotoscoping.
you know what? I wouldn't be surprised, but it's very tough for me to get. I think they're
in
gonna
this one.
have to. They're gonna have to. I'm on the poster.
Hey, that's
There's
nice.
a poster.
Good.
There's also a trailer.
Oh, I would like to see this.
Yeah,
we'll check it
There's
out.
a trailer. Like I think you got to go to coronamovie.com.
Beautiful.
And there's
Sorry.
a trailer. By the way, I'm not in the trailer.
This happened. This happened last week. Please don't advertise on this show.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am kidding, of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
like to
yeah,
watch
yeah.
this trailer.
Yeah,
Coronamovie.com.
yeah. It's coronavirus, whatever. Coronavirus. No, coronamovie.com.
I don't know if you go to coronavirus.com whether it's going to take you to a movie.
People are like, let me
Yeah, yeah.
let me see all this about the coronavirus. And
Yeah,
like,
there's nothing about
see
covering
me.
your mouth or social distancing. It's just where you get tickets
Yeah, yeah,
and where it's
yeah,
going to
yeah.
stream on VOD.
So one day it'll be out, hopefully.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up right there. Thank you very much for doing stand-up.
Well, thank you
Andy,
for having me.
What a pleasure. Oh, we are shooting this in your front yard. We're at our favorite Trout Lake
Yeah.
location, but you live right here.
I do.
This
my
is
family, my wife and kids live in that house over
Yeah,
there.
you have a wife and kids over there?
They were like
Yeah.
waving at me. They're over there because of social distance.
That's
I
not
told
how
them,
that
I
works.
told them I can't
actually.
come home.
You have been on the cover of Saskatoon's newspaper, which is where I am from, for doing a one-person show.
Yes, I was.
So
the
that
Star
hurts my
Phoenix.
feelings
The
slightly.
Star Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I'm funny because when I was in Saskatoon,
Yeah.
I said I know Ross, and they were like, "Who's Ross?"
It is a major city.
I know,
You can't just say that
it's
to
a,
anyone.
It's a huge place,
Yeah.
and but I thought they would know Ross Dauk,
Yeah.
and they were like, "You are the king of Saskatoon."
Well, I'm not. I was never.
No, as in me.
No,
As in
no,
they-
but I was never thought I was the king of
No,
Saskatoon.
I thought you were though.
No,
I
no,
was
no.
dropping your name at the clubs.
I was only there for 4 years as just did university there. And I
No
left.
excuse.
I should have been the king by that point.
Yeah. But I told you the story about how like I got pulled over on a
No,
bike.
tell me about it.
I think I
Oh,
did.
on the bike, yes.
Yeah, I got pulled over on a bike
In
in Saskatoon.
Oh, tell me about this.
And the guy, I jumped up on the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
Because the guy that I was staying with, he lent me his bike, and I was biking around Saskatoon, and I jumped on the sidewalk, and literally 2 seconds. They're very strict in Saskatoon about the sidewalks, and like sirens and like cops
Oh,
shows up,
man.
and he looks at me, and he was very like, you better have a good excuse,
Wow.
And I was like, 2 seconds, man, like literally, and I was just like, I'm from out of town. He's like, yeah, you're from out of town, and I was like, I am. I'm from Vancouver, and he goes, you're from Vancouver. And I was like,
Like, this is the most unbelievable thing that anyone from Vancouver ever came
and then
back to
and then I
Saskatoon.
go, I'm with the Fringe. And he goes, you're with the Fringe.
I think he's using an interrogation technique here.
So I'm kind of like, I am with the Fringe. And that happened to be that article that I was in for the Star Phoenix.
That is amazing.
Had came out that day.
Right.
So I whipped out my phone and I was like, check me out, So he looked at it and he was like, oh yeah, that's you.
Aw.
And then he goes, I know you independent artists don't make any money, so I won't give you a ticket.
Wow.
And he goes, but can you do me a favor? And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, when's your next show? And I was like, it's tonight. And he goes, can you give a shout out to the cops?
Are you kidding me?
No.
What
And
a
so
weird
I went,
thing.
okay, what's your name? And he's like, Dale, right? So that night I did the show, and at the end of the show, I was like, all right, I got to do this thing. And I told the story just like
Yeah.
I told you. And so I go, all right, so to Dale the cop. And
Yeah.
the whole place erupts. A lot of people knew Dale.
He's been letting people off all over town trying to get goodwill.
People knew who he
So
was.
people know Dale, but don't know
They don't
Sweet
know
Roscoe?
Ross Dauk at all.
I gotta get in this Dale game.
Dale is just like very popular. Like at a normally loud laugh, and I was like, "Why are you?" I'm like, "Oh, Dale with his hijinks, he does that." Kind
Wow.
I'm like, Dale, man, he's yeah.
I love it. Andy Canete, everybody. What a pleasure. That was great. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm walking back to my house after this little stroll. I had to just shoot outside of the house today because Thursdays are Jimmy's napping day. Every day is his napping day, but I didn't want to disturb him today. He looked too cute. If you enjoyed the show, please tell your friends. Like down below, subscribe, leave a comment. I love all that stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good week. Goodbye.